thank you everyone who came today. Start with introducing myself. So I'm Christy Lawton, the Chief Science Officer with Rewire AI. A few of my colleagues are here as well to help out with this webinar. John Harkness, the CEO, and Michael Highfill. Just to remind you a little bit about what we're about before we dive into this. So our company, Rewire AI, and our software, Polygon AI, are really made to be a solution to a bottleneck we had within our own academic research, which was image analysis and the incredibly manual nature of analyzing, tens of thousands of cells in thousands of images. So I'm sure a lot of you feel that pain or have felt that pain, either in your wrist or your eyes or just your sanity. But we really wanted to create a solution that made it so that that process was no longer painful, fast, easy, and would lead to better data, like better reproducibility in your data. And that was really what led to the development of this software. The core of what allowed us to make this kind of automated image analysis software is the underlying AI technology. So computer vision machine learning, which is AI that's very important for image analysis, allows us to have that speed, accuracy, and reproducibility that we really need. And then we've packaged that all within a user-friendly interface that, is very generally accessible to a wide variety of researchers. A lot of other automated solutions or semi-automated solutions out there are not so easy to use. You may need some coding experience, which you don't with our software. And then oftentimes other solutions have been developed for some very specific application that doesn't translate well to your unique research. And we address that problem with our custom model training capabilities within our software. This particular webinar is meant to be a very general sort of introduction tour for new users. We won't have time to go into all of the details of the several different features and functions within the software, but we will have some upcoming webinars in the next few months that do go into a more intermediate level on specific topics like custom model training. So today I'll give you a brief tour, show you how to do basic analysis, and also point you in the direction of a lot of our self-help materials. All right, so the first step, if you haven't already done this, is to visit our website, rewire.ai. If you go to Polygon AI, you'll see here that we have both downloads for both Windows and Mac. This download process and installation process is pretty standard and straightforward, but if you do need any help, we do have some resources on our help and fact page with some more detailed instructions. So in this how-to guide, you'll find instructions for installation here. So once you get the software downloaded and installed, I'll open it up here. The first time you install, it may take a little longer, so just be patient because it's, getting everything set up. The first thing you should see is this sign-in page. If you have not done this before, you're going to need to go over to create account first. You'll only need to do this once, and you can fill in the information here, and the email and password you fill in here are what you will use after for this sign-in page. So let me just get into my account here. All right, so this is pretty simple interface in the beginning here because we don't have any images like set up in here yet. But the one thing you'll notice is everyone will start with this Polygon AI demo project. This is meant to be sort of a practice project for you to be able to play around with the features. There's several images from our own academic research in here that we've set up as practice images. But let me just give you a quick tour of basic components of the software before we dive into any actual images here. So up here under File, you have some preferences you can set, such as your default ROI colors and shapes. These zoom sensitivity and zoom direction things refer to your mouse scroll wheel. They're very useful for zooming in and out on an image. And then you can do dark mode or light mode, and there's other things here you can modify here. So I'll go to that. Importantly, I want to show you the account section up here. We'll show you which account you're logged into and where you can change things like that. Everyone will start with a free license. This is on a premium license here, but if you're a new user here, you'll have a free license that allows you to use most of the basic features with some usage limitations. If you ever find that you need more, then you can go here to look and see what kind of things you get when you upgrade to a premium license. In addition to a lot of these extras for premium license, we do also offer premium add-ons. If you want us to help you do some of your analysis or do some sort of lab trainings or additional Zoom support calls, things like that, we're happy to do things like that. You just need to, if you click this link for purchase add-ons, it will actually take you to an mail to that you can email us to ask what it is you're interested in purchasing, and we'll send you a custom quote. Okay. Now, let's see, we went through references and account. I think the other important one I want to point out here is the help section. So we have some very handy hotkeys. This is a little cheat sheet for them. This will make your life a lot easier when using the software. I'll point out a few of them as we're using it as well, but this is a good way to come back and sort of remind yourself of what you can do. We have some built-in tutorials, an intro tour is just similar to what I'm doing now, and then a more detailed custom model training tutorial. And then we have very detailed help documentation on our website. So if you go to this how-to link, it will send you to that website I showed you earlier, where we have the how-to guide that has an indexed list of sections here, hyperlinked index here, with quite a lot of detail on how to do different kinds of analysis. So I highly recommend you download this and reference it. We also, you can go watch an older webinar, but also this will take you to our YouTube channel where we have several small snippet videos that show you how to do certain types of analysis. Another really useful tool here. We also have an FAQ page here. Commonly asked questions. We'll be adding more to this after this webinar. Okay. Back to the software here. The one other thing I want to point out here is down here in the corner, this little question mark is actually a way for you to send us any sort of bug reports or feedback on maybe features that you'd like to see. This will also open up a mail too, so you can send us an email. I highly recommend that when you do this, that you attach screenshots. It just makes it easier for both of us to make sure that we're communicating appropriately. And if it's something where you feel like you need a response, then you can check this box first. So I'm going to go ahead and go into our demo project here. And you'll see we have several images already in here. I'm just going to go into one of my favorites here. You move my Zoom thing, it's in the way. All right. So I'm going to just delete these. So this is parvalbumin labeled rat brain neuron slice from some of our research. And, let's pretend, you've already trained a model and you're bringing in your images here to analyze. So I'm going to go up here where the models are, and I'm going to select the appropriate model for this image. And then I'm just going to run detect cells. So once you have a model trained, this process is really fast, as you can see, and also very accurate. This is not a model that was used, or this is not an image that was used to train this model. This model was trained on several images like this. And so as you can see, the AI is really good once it's learned what to do. If it misses some here and there, it's really easy to correct the mistakes. So I can just, like that cell right here it missed, I can easily draw that on there. fix it. What you'll want to always do, of course, is double check the results and fix any errors. And one of the useful tools here of the hotkeys is you could do Control or Command and then zoom in with the mouse. But yeah, you can zoom in with Control or Command with the mouse wheel and scroll and pan. Again, take a look at those hotkeys to be able to see how to do that. And then not only can you draw on new ROIs, but you can delete or resize or move them. So like this one, I can make it a little bit bigger. If I didn't think that was a cell, I could delete it. I can also, click and drag. Arrow keys work as well. So that's the basic analysis when you already have a model trained. And in the case of, new users to this software, it's quite likely you're going to bring in images that we don't have a specific model trained for already, because you probably aren't doing parvalbumin research for these kind of cells. But that's not a problem. This doesn't just work for people who we already have models for already. That's the beauty of the system here, is being able to train a custom model. But a lot of times our existing models may work if they're similar enough to something you are studying. So what we can do, let's just go to another image to mix it up here. I'll delete these ones. So I'm bringing in this image, and maybe I'm not sure what model would be best. So what I can do is I can go to this recommend model. And what that will do is it will try all of our existing internal models on that image so that you can see which would work best. And then in this case, the model that looks best here is WFA, which is great because that's actually what this biomarker is. So this can be a useful tool to get started if you're not sure, when you first bring your images in and you're not sure what to do or what model to use, or if any of them will be useful for you. You can start with this. And if you're, like I said, if you have something that looks similar enough, some of our models will get you started. And then you can use that as a kind of a launch pad to train a custom model. Oh, also another thing I want to point out, this is a new feature. These 3 buttons here on the side, you can actually select which models to show up in that model list if you want to keep it less cluttered. If you only use 1 or 2 models, you can easily deselect most of these so that your list just has whatever you have selected here. All right, so I'm going to run WFA with just the standard settings here. And you'll see it does a pretty good job. You do have some overlapping ones here, and that's an easy fix here is you can crank up this overlap removal. That'll fix that sort of problem. So you have various settings here you can play around with to get better detections, and you just find settings that work well for your images and your models, and you can use those consistently. So I already went into this image and did the analysis, and I fixed an error that I found. And what I need to do now, and this is very important here, is when I'm done fixing it and I'm happy with the annotations here, I need to go and do approve ROIs. This is important for a couple of reasons. One, it's going to add a little check mark over here next to your image. That's really helpful for you to keep track of which ones you've already checked and fixed any issues with. But also, this will be necessary to be able to use this image for custom model training. So don't forget to approve your images when you're done looking over them. At this point, if I was wanting to be done with my analysis with this, then you can export your results here, this button. So I'm just going to select folder to save that in. I made a webinar folder earlier. Webinar here. And then we can export that. That'll pop up with a little link so you can find it easily. And in this case, that's going to make you 2 different files here. One will be the results file with a large number of columns of data. I'll show you in a little bit how to actually set what information you get out of here. But yeah, so this CSV file will have all the information about all the ROIs in your image that you can take into whatever analysis statistical software you'd like to use. And then this zip file here is ROI zip file. It are the actual ROIs from your image. So you can import those back into our software to visualize what the ROIs were later, or into ImageJ, whichever you prefer. Let me just mention some of the controls up here. Zooming, this makes images full size. So if I zoom in to make some corrections, but I want to get back to the full image, you can do that here. You can choose your ROI color here. You can change your shape. So you have rectangle and circle or oval tools, and then also some polygon mask tools. So if you need to draw kind of an irregularly shaped object, you can do that with this tool. This lasso tool allows you to select multiple ROIs at once. And this tool here, actually, this can be pretty helpful. You can hide the ROIs. It doesn't delete them. It just hides them so you can see your image better. You can easily toggle that on and off. Whereas this button down here will actually delete your ROIs. So be careful with that one. All right, so after you've played around with our demo project, you probably are pretty excited to try this with your own images. This project list will have all of your projects and our demo project. You can think of it like, each of these is a different experiment, depending on how you want to organize it. And you just need to go new project and come up with a unique project name. This is important because you don't want to get mixed up between your different projects. So I'm just gonna say, webinar 1213 for now, but you can add in project description very easily with details, much like you would in an electronic lab notebook. So you can keep track of different projects. But you can go back and edit this later. You don't have to set the project description up now, and you can change the name later as needed. All right, what that's going to prompt you then when you first create a project is which data analysis output fields you want in that CSV file I showed you earlier. A lot of these are things that come out of ImageJ. So there's more here than most people need, so you can uncheck these if you don't want your CSVs to be so cluttered. Otherwise, we can just set the default. You can change this after the fact as well. I can show you how to do that. Let's see. So we made this project here showing up in the list. You can delete or edit or export the project from this project list. But when I click on the project, that'll actually take us into the project here in this current project tab. And here you can set the export options if you want to change these again. So now we have the project. Obviously, the next thing we need to do is add images. This will create new folders if you want to set up folder structures ahead of time to import your images into, or you can just go ahead and add new images. So you can either do that by adding specific images that you choose, or what's usually easier is to choose an entire folder of images. This is especially good to use if you've already organized your folders in a specific way. I'm going to go ahead and do that to show you how that works. So I choose folder, and I'm going to select this folder of image data and upload. That's saying it has 24 files in there. Hit submit. You'll see a progress bar here. It's actually, there's only 15 image files in that folder. So this will only import the image files. So it's ignoring text files. So like I said, you'll have this progress bar. One thing I want to note is this process can take quite a while, depending on how many images you have and also how big they are. But this was a pretty small set. But I just wanted to show you that it does preserve your file tree sort of that was in that folder. So that's a very helpful way to keep things organized. Okay. And you can continue to add more images as needed. You can add them into these individual folders as well, not just the parent folder. Okay. All right, let's go back to the demo project here. One of the things that I mentioned earlier was that you needed to have your images approved with these check marks in order to train a custom model. And I want to come back to that because I'm going to go ahead and run analysis on a couple of these and approve them so I can show you the custom model training briefly. Do this on a few more here. Fix that one again. And that again. I don't like those results as much. There we go. And the reason I'm doing this is because we require a minimum of 5 images to start to train a custom model. We recommend starting with at least 10, but we have had success training with as few as 5. And really this depends on how big your images are and how many objects are in your images. If you have a giant image with thousands of objects in it, then you can split that up into several smaller images. You don't have to train with 5 giant images. Because really what training means here, you have to create this annotation set where you have marked all of the objects in the image and approved them. So I have at least 5 here. Do this one too for good measure. Great. Okay. So now that I've made that training set, I can go ahead and go into our custom model section, which is right here. So you'll see there's several types of analysis buttons over here. Again, I don't have time to go into all of these today. I'm just trying to cover the most important, useful ones to get people started. And then, so we go into custom models, and here you can create a new model here. Create model. I'm going to give it a very descriptive name because this name is what's going to appear in that model drop-down list when you're actually ready to use the model. You want to make sure it's something distinct enough that you can always tell what it is. So let's say just my initials, webinar 1213. So you can give more detail here. You can edit that as well later. And what you'll need to do is choose the associated project that those images are in, this is already correct. It's on the demo project. If you want to share this model with other users in your lab, you can enter in their email here. So I could share this with John easily if I wanted, but I don't have to share it with Michael if I don't want to, because, just leave him out. All right, so I'm going to create this. And now we can go into that model. That was this one today. And it's ready to add those images. So I just need to go to add an image. And now I just need to choose the 5 images that I marked. The most important thing here is that you're choosing images of the same type. So I had actually had another image in that demo set selected that wasn't parvalbumin. So I need to unselect that one, this CFOS here, because when you're training a model, it needs to be a model trained to one specific class. So like one cell type or one biomarker, whatever it is you're looking at in your image. It doesn't have to just be cells. Okay, so I'm gonna add those. And it'll show you how many images you have up here. 5, now that you've met the minimum of 5, you can move on to the next step, which is drawing contours. Now, this is important because it gives the computer a much better detailed sense of what it is you're looking for in these images. This is also a good chance to correct any of your ROIs if they're not great. So anyway, what it means by contour here is that you're going to draw a more detailed outline of the object of interest here. When you do that, you hit approve, move to the next one. You can skip some of them pretty easily. So you just need to do this for a minimum of 20 objects. As you draw these and approve them, they'll show up down here under your object contours, and it'll count up here till you reach your minimum of 20. Again, more is always better. You'll get a better model if you do more, but this is the very minimum we require to start training. I won't draw all 20 contours here right now. I'll just mention just the rest of this process. Once you've gotten your 20 contours and 5 images, you can hit train model. And what that will do is it'll start automatically training on our servers. That will be ready in anywhere from 10 minutes to 24 hours or so, depending on your image set. And then you'll automatically receive an email letting you know when it's ready. And then when it's ready, if you go back into the software and go back to some of your images, oops, I need to get out of that mode. Sorry, forgot to close the drawing mode there. You can go back into your software and go to your images, and you'll find that model in your drop-down list ready to use. And the nice thing is if the model maybe is only catching 80% of the objects, then you can go back in and add more images and draw more contours and get it up to whatever level of accuracy that you need. So it's pretty straightforward. Doesn't take a lot of upfront annotation effort, that's kind of a big distinguisher between this and other AI tools where it can take hundreds, if not thousands, of training images. One other thing I think I will mention is that for large images, I mentioned earlier that if you have a really large image, you don't have to manually annotate, hundreds of cells. That would be pretty terrible. You can split them. Oh, good one. So this is kind of a bigger one of microglia. So what you can do is you can go into an image, one of your large images, and you can go split it up. And you can just designate the number of rows and columns. So that's fine. Actually, let's just do that. So that's split that into smaller versions of the images. So that'll be less work to annotate. And you can use these for your training instead. Okay. I think I have enough time to show you colocalization, because that's another common feature that people need in our software. So you can either bring in these are the triple label image, 3 different biomarkers here, and we have a merged image. You can bring in your own merged image, or what I will do is I'll actually show you how to create one in our software. You can right-click on those images and co-localize. And then it'll bring them all up here so you can select the appropriate models. But first, let's make a merged image. So I'm going to do create merged image here. And these colors are already actually the channels I want for this, but you can select whichever colors you want for each channel to create the merge. And we have this beautiful merged image here. Now I want to run inference on the other images. So if you haven't already done this for each image, then you can set whichever model here to run inference, and then do detect cells. There we go. And then before I run colocalization, I can go in and fix any issues in here. So like there's duplicate I want to delete in that image. We missed a couple in this one. Oops, I'm on the polygon tool. Let's not do that. And so now if I'm happy with the ROI detection in these, I can run colocalization, and it will find where those overlap in those 3 channels. Don't have time to go into all the details on the different kinds of colocalization, but do see our help documentation for more information, because we do have 3 different types of colocalization we do based on if it's with interior objects or several objects within or adjacent objects. think we can go ahead and start the Q&A in earnest.
Great. Yeah, we've had a couple questions in the chat that we've been going through. One thing that did come up, Christy, that you might have a chance to walk through now is the area selection function in analysis. Me showing how to select just a region of the image that you'd like to contain analysis within.
Yeah, that's a nice feature, for sure. So we have several types of sort of advanced settings in here. Image view settings, image analysis settings. Area selection right here is a nice one because you may have an image where the cells are not uniformly distributed. Actually, probably a better one to show you on is one of these microglia images. So if I wanted to exclude analysis only to this region or a subregion within this, this is a really good way to do this. Oops, that's the wrong one. So you do here is you set and then you can draw or demarc. So if it was just a square, you can do that, but otherwise you can draw the region that you want to include or exclude, depending on which. I'm drawing a bit sloppy here, as you can see, but I'll just draw a big circle.
Squirrel, yeah.
All right, you draw whatever shape you need, and then hit save, and it will only analyze within that region. I mean, I need to delete the arrows that were already there, but let's see. It's the microglia model. So yeah, as you can see, it's focused on this. Okay. And you can do the same thing with area exclusion if there was a region you didn't want it. If you want, if it's easier to mark the region you wanted to ignore rather than the area you wanted to analyze.
Great, and maybe just walk through a little bit of the custom model stuff there. We have a question about the number of custom models that you can train in the free version. Ellie, I'll verbalize this while Christy's pulling up custom. Yeah, essentially, the two free models that you can train are just two separate projects, and so we can actually go back and continue to edit and retrain a model. So here Christy has two that we're seeing, and she could click on the edit button of either of those and add more images. So that won't impact your the number of models that you have available. So that would just be one of the two. But great question.
Yeah, these are definitely just in progress because they haven't I haven't submitted them and they haven't trained. They'll show up in a different sub list here if I actually had models trained in this account. And those would be your official ones. You can delete these really easily too.
Hiya. Could you please once quickly go through the colocalization analysis part, meaning just where to find the colocalization button on the software?
Yeah,
Thank
sure.
you.
Sorry if I rushed through that earlier. Yeah, so that reminds me of another thing I didn't say about that would be helpful. So if you have your files already organized in a folder like this one, you can right click the folder and go to colocalize. Or you can do what I did before and just select Control or Shift to select different files within the folder, and then you can right click those files. So you'll find a lot of options in the right click menu for different files and folders in this sort of left hand file window. So Colocalize is of course one of them. But also you can come over to these different analysis tabs on the right side here, and there is a colocalize section here where you can run on a folder through there as well. But I usually just use the right click menu.
And Christy, I was just answering a question here about area selection within colocalization. And you might just click through it here. Got a couple different ways that you can kind of go about it, either doing your area selection on each one of your images before you open it up in colocalization, or as Christy's doing here, opening those images up in colocalization, then you can click into each image, and you'll just need to navigate over to the analysis window to do that area selection. And so this is probably the most complicated step of it, because you're just kind of changing those tabs there on the far right side. So now when she does area selection, she can apply that, and then we'll just go back to colocalization once you're done. Yeah, great question. And just kind of a follow-up on that, an additional feature that we have coming out, so hopefully sometime soon here, is the ability to import those ROIs. You can already import ROIs into Polygon. And yeah, maybe Christy, if you don't mind showing that button on the analysis panel. This is a way that you could actually bring in a standard ROI shape for area selection if you've created one previously. So that button there that Christy's hovering over allows you to import ROIs. These are actually the same format ROIs as you would export out of ImageJ or Fiji. So you could use some of those tools to maybe do that. You can also, of course, make the ROI in Polygon and export it with the button just to the right of import. So that'd be a good way to import an ROI shape. But then additionally, that feature that I was mentioning is just the ability to import that straight into the area selection or save some of those shapes. So keep an eye out for that. I don't have an ETA on it, unfortunately, but certainly sometime into 2024 now, given that we're at the end of the year.
Yeah, we're always adding new little features and functions and whatnot. And we'll send out emails kind of announcing when we have major updates. The software also automatically updates, by the way. So you'll get the latest and greatest when it's out and tell you here what version you're on.
Great, and two more questions here. Sanjay, I was just typing out an answer to you, but maybe we can just talk about it. So yeah, in terms of Z-stack analysis and custom models in there, we have a couple different options. So yeah, Z-stack analysis is something that is available in the premium version. I don't think I see a Z-stack that Christy has imported here, but happy to go through it another time. Or we do have a Z-stack video already available in that YouTube resource area. I'll send a link to a specific playlist of YouTube videos here in a second. But yeah, these are so Z-stack analysis has a really cool function for that, so you can actually see those ROIs in 3D and see where they that cell starts and stops through your stack. If you're training a model for that, there's two ways that you might want to go about doing that. The first is just to open those images, individually, or those steps individually as images, and process them with one of our current models. Make those corrections on it, build your custom model, and then that custom model is something that you could use in the Z-stack feature. A faster way to do that would be importing all of those steps as individual images and then batch processing them using one of our stock models. So that way, let's say you start off with our Parvell-Given model, as Christy was showing a minute ago. You could apply that to every image in the stack, make your corrections, and then again train your custom model, which could be applied to the Z-stack.
Hi, one more question. Could be a little bit too specific, but I'm planning to count nuclei and then, let's say, infected or transfected cells. And problem usually is that on a border of the image, you don't have a full nuclei or full cytoplasmic label there. How can I get rid of that? And only what would be the way to get rid of those half cells, let's say? Where is that option? Thank you.
Yeah, that's a great question. So we have a couple really powerful tools here that might help you start to get to that. The first is just a really simple lasso tool. So up there on the top, so this allows you to select a whole number of things all at once. I think this is a little bit the opposite of what you're looking for, but that's actually giving me Christy's mouse is kind of funny. But that's giving me a thought that we might be able to provide an invert feature for that. The other tool that we have there down on the bottom right of the icons on the far right is a filters tool. And so there are a whole number of things here that that I don't think we'll have time to get into today. I think one of our YouTube videos talks about these a little bit more. But these are great tools in order to do a lot of kind of batch functionality to your ROIs. So, for example, I will often use this if I want to increase the size of all my ROIs by, some area. So, I might say I want them all to be 1 pixel larger. I can also go through and I can filter which ones I am selecting. And so this is maybe where you would start, where you would just select those, half nuclei that are a smaller area. And then you can delete all those in batch. Lastly, one of the tools down there is that area selection. I think that might be a good way to kind of go about it. If you select just the inner area of the image, cutting off just a couple of pixels around the border, you're going to limit your detection to that. You can then turn off the area selection and the rest of the image is still there. So just for, quantification purposes, you would, not be chopping off other cells or nuclei. So that might be a good way to go about doing it. But yeah, really good question.
That actually does remind me of a point I didn't make earlier. There's a good example in this image. There's kind of a half cell up here at the edge of the image. And it's kind of up to your discretion if you want the model to count that. You can draw, an ROI around it. And if you have several of those in your example images, then the model will learn to count those. But if you don't want to count a half cell like that, just don't annotate them, and the model will learn to ignore those. I'm not sure if that was related to your images without seeing an example, but just it reminded me of that.
Exactly that. Thank you so much.
Oh, great. Yeah, and then one other thing I didn't mention earlier with the custom model training is that you want to make sure that the 5 or more example images that you use are representative of variation that you're going to see in your data. It'll be more robust to that natural variation in that case. So don't pick 5 images that all look identical if you're expecting there to be some other kinds of variability in the rest of your data set, because it won't perform as well.
Yeah, just I'll verbalize that one as well. So in terms of training models, yeah, crops and edits that are made to images are not currently passed through to the trainer. That's a great question, and it actually does point out, maybe some things that we can work on in the future. But yeah, if there's if you're working with some images that you want to limit to just a certain region or something like that, you could try making those crops outside of Polygon before importing. Yeah, because certainly the model learns best from seeing examples of what you want it to detect. I couldn't guarantee to you that, for example, if you trained a model to only look at cells in the hippocampus and you were showing images that included areas outside of the hippocampus, that you would not detect anything outside of there. But certainly the more examples you give it, the more accurate it becomes. So that's kind of an interesting thought.
Yeah, the models can learn context, so variation in the background is also important.
And then, yeah, in terms of group licenses, Tara, yeah, we have a whole number of options with that. One of the features that we also have upcoming, probably sooner rather than later, is the ability to sync and share projects across computers. So this is a really nice way to potentially collaborate on projects within a lab. You could share projects in addition to what Christy was showing with sharing custom models. You can share a project with a collaborator. Yeah, currently the our free licenses are essentially able to log you into one Polygon instance at a time, but you can install Polygon on as many computers as you would like, and you can log into as many computers as you'd like. It will just only run the AI on one computer at a time, maybe a little bit like Netflix. So same with the premium licenses, they only run one computer at a time, but you can certainly log into as many as you want. And we do have, potentially some lab licenses coming down the road with greater management capabilities.
someone's excited about saving a year of their PhD, so that's great. I'll share. Yeah.
Yeah, that really was the impetus for a lot of this, as Christy mentioned up top. We met as postdocs, and we're doing a lot of microscopy back then, and it was certainly a lifesaver. Even in the early days, kind of the early tools that we had created saved a lot of time. So hopefully I can do the same for you now, and hopefully it'll save you even more time than it did for us. And one last thing that I promised here was a link to our playlist of videos on YouTube. So these are some tutorials that we made that are about 1 to 2 minutes that go through a lot of these features. So if you want to watch something, while you're getting going with Polygon, this might be a good place to start.
Well, thank you so much for everybody who came. It was great meeting the majority of you at the conferences, and Michael will be sending out emails about the upcoming webinars soon with more detailed features.
Thanks, everyone.
Have a great rest of the day.